My name is Amber, and we are going to talk about onboarding like a pro today. Do I have an intro slide? I do, of course. But why are we even here? Why is onboarding important? What does it look like? How can you have specific examples for your business? These are all of the things that I'm going to talk about today. But I do want to be really clear that this training is not about contracts. It's not about invoicing. So if you have questions about building out a perfect contract or how much to invoice or what software to use to invoice, I can absolutely point you in the direction of somebody who can help you with that, but that is not what we are talking about today. So let me introduce myself real fast. My name is Amber and I own youneedinamber.com. This is actually my third business, and my goal at You Need an Amber is to help businesses run their business better. My goal is to help you get organized through systems, process, automations, and workflow so that you can run your business better. These are a couple fun things about me. I just recently completed my certification to be a director of operations. I'm a HoneyBook educator. I'm an Asana partner. In past lives, I worked for the government. I was in the military for 6 years, worked at the Department of Homeland Security, did a deployment to Iraq. I was going to Johns Hopkins to get my master's in national security. And then I thought, well, I don't want to do any of that. So I did what any rational person would do. And I dropped out of graduate school and quit my job and sold everything and traveled the world by myself for a couple of years. And I've had a couple of online businesses. Like I said, this is my third business. And so I'm no stranger to running a business online. And so again, my goal is to help you run your business better. So what is onboarding? Onboarding is showing your client that you are ready for them, you're ready for their project, and that you have done everything on your end to set yourself up for success. You're ready to start on day one. You have everything that you need in terms of access to any systems. You have everything you need in terms of what information do you need to know to be successful in this project. Onboarding is making sure that you have everything to go, ready to go from day one. And this is important because it gives your clients confidence that they made the right decision in hiring you. Yes, you're getting yourself prepared, but also you're showing your client you made a good decision and I am ready to be helpful. This is an actual text that I received from a client that I was working with about why onboarding was so important. So just for a little bit of context, this client and I were talking about building an onboarding system for her business. And she was like, yeah, I mean, I guess there's a couple of things that I do to onboard, but it's all in my head. So it's not really like that important. Of course I get it done. And I'm not joking. A week later, I get this text message and this is what it says. I'm learning firsthand the benefits of good onboarding and offboarding. I'm a little torn because I hired this accountant, but I haven't signed anything. I haven't paid anything, and there's been virtually no communication. We agreed on what package we were going to start with. She helped me get registered, and I was supposed to get emails, but the process felt so disorganized. I feel like I'm going to get lost. And then this is the most important sentence of this text message. I realize it is my goal that my clients never feel this way. Let that sink in for a second. So when a client comes to you and you have your discovery call and they're like, yes, I want to work with you, they're excited and they want to give you money, right? They want to move forward and do all the things so that you can begin working together. You are there to solve their problem. And if you don't have a solid onboarding system, then this text message, this is exactly how they feel. They feel like, I just got off of this discovery call. Everything was great. I really like this person. And now what? Now what do I do? And that's exactly how we never want to make any client feel. And I'm sure that there are examples in our lives of ways that clients have made, or that businesses have made us feel. And we just want to make sure that that never, ever happens. So there are 4 parts of what onboarding actually looks like. And I'm going to get into all of these in detail, but I just want to give you a quick summary of these 4 parts. First, onboarding begins with your internal process, setting things up internally in your own systems. Second, onboarding needs to have some sort of personal touch. Third, you need to make sure that you as the contractor, you as the freelancer, that you are set up for success to follow through on the promises that you made. And then fourth, implementing a training period. So let's get into each of these. An internal process of your onboarding is the bulk of what you will do when you onboard a new client. So you're going to start collecting their information and their agreement and their contract and their invoice in your CRM. I personally use HoneyBook. There's lots that you can choose from, but adding the client to your CRM is going to be the first step because you need to collect all of that basic information. What's their real name? What's their real business name? Are they using a DBA that you need to know about? What's their business address? All of that personal information about the client needs to be collected in your CRM. Once everything is in your CRM, then you can start sending out documents, and then everything will be stored under that client profile. So you can start sending out your contract, start sending out your invoice, start sending out your NDA. All of those documents that you send out can all be stored in your CRM. And once you have that client in your system, then you can just click, click, click on all of those documents and send them all out. The next part of your internal process is setting up your client's task in your task manager system. I personally use Asana, but use whatever you want that works best for your brain and set up all of your tasks so that you never forget anything. I personally take notes every time I have a client meeting. I take handwritten notes, and then I go in and put everything in my Asana. That's what works for me, but do what works for you in a way that you make sure that you're never going to forget to follow through on your promises, and setting up your client in your task management system from the very beginning gets that out of the way. The next thing I would do is create a client folder in my Google Drive. Sometimes you're going to get documents back and forth, or they're going to forward you an email or a PDF, and you need a place to store all of these. So go ahead and get that client folder set up in your Google Drive. And then there are other things like sending the W-9, the NDA if it's necessary, all of that. And then you're going to start getting access to your client systems. I'll go into that in a little bit, but starting that process from the very beginning is huge. The next thing in your onboarding process is a personal touch. Please, please, please do not overlook the value of a personal touch. And when I say personal touch, I really mean that this can be something that's free. So don't feel like that you have to go out and spend $20, $30, $50 on mailing some package to your client. You absolutely can. But if that's not where your price point is, that's not where your business is, please remember that a personal touch can absolutely be free. And let me give you a couple of examples. One of the free personal touches that you can do is a quick Loom video. There is a platform called Loom, L-O-O-M, and you can make a quick video. I think their platform is free. If your video is less than 5 minutes, someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, that you can make a video for like maybe it's 3 minutes, whatever it is, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, make a quick video and send it to them. Like, hey, Julie, so excited to start working with you. I really love your business and what you're working on, and I can't wait. See you Monday. Something really simple like that can go a long, long way in making your client, number one, feel really special, but number two, remind them that you're getting ready for them. You are working on the back end to get ready for them so that you're prepared when you begin on day one. Another personal touch that you can do is to send a handwritten note. Sure, you can go to Canva and print out some stationery with your with your company logo on it. But you know what? Just use some stationery that you already have, like something that you got in a Christmas stocking one year. Use anything to send a handwritten note. Remember, with all of that personal information, like their address that you collected, don't forget about all of that. Oh, sorry. Wait, what do I do? Okay, don't forget about that personal information that you collected. Go and get some stationery, use their address, maybe send it to their business, to their home, whatever you have, and send them a handwritten note. It will go so far. If the client is at a price point where it makes sense to send them a little package in the mail, it might be a good idea to take the time to curate a box and send it in the mail. You can have it with like your logo on it, right? Some like little swag with your logo, or a book that you recommended on your discovery call, or some new headphones, whatever it is, right? People love gifts in the mail. People love surprises. People love swag. So don't discount the power of a package in the mail if the price point makes sense to the client. If you do not have the time to put together a package yourself and walk it to the mailbox, there are tons of companies out there that will curate a package for you and send it over, right? And it can be gender neutral, some socks, some candles, some tea, whatever. You could create this little package from a company, say what price point you want it to be, and the company will even ship it out for you. It will make a huge impact on your client if they get a personal touch like a package in the mail. The last thing I want to remind you about that is 1000% free is giving them a shout out on social media. If you're about to start working with a client, why not give them a shout out on social media and tag their business? Hey, Erin at Albright Creative, so excited to start working with you on Monday. So excited about the project we're working on, right? There are so many ways that you can do a little shout out on the platform that you know that your client is on, so that they are excited to work from you and they are getting free publicity, which is never a bad thing for anybody. Okay, so we have talked about your internal processes. We have talked about a personal touch. Now I want to talk about setting yourself up for success from the very beginning. If you begin working with a client, specifically for a long-term client, you're going to work with this client for 3 months, 6 months on a big launch, whatever's coming up, setting yourself up for success from the beginning is so important. And these are some ways that you can do that. First, I would set up a team welcome meeting. If it's just you and the company owner, that's totally fine. But if there are other people on the team, then it would be really helpful to have everyone else come in too. You want to meet the team. You want to learn about the company's mission and vision and values, and you want to learn about their upcoming goals. You want to hear about the dates that are coming up where a big launch is happening, or a book is going to be published, or whatever is happening. You need to know about those upcoming goals, but you also need to know about the company's big picture, like their mission and vision and values from the very beginning to get started really well. After you have a meeting with everyone, then I would suggest having a quick 15-minute meeting with everyone on the team just to get to know them on a human level. If it's just you and the owner of the company, this might not be necessary, but if there's anyone else on the team, I would highly recommend setting up a quick 15 just to get to know everyone else. The next thing to do to set yourself up for success is to create 30, 60, 90-day goals for yourself. I know that it's really exciting when you get a new client and they've paid the invoice and you're ready to just go and start producing. But taking the time to step back and establishing the goals that you're actually doing will really benefit you in the future. Number one, it helps you know what you're working towards so that you can make small progress along the way. But also, when you achieve those goals, then you can show the business owner, look how great I am. Look at how many goals that I achieved. Look, I'm ahead of schedule, right? Like, you can set yourself up for success by establishing these goals up front and then reminding your client that you meet these goals and you're ready for more goals. You're ready to make the company better. And because you already know about their mission and vision and values, then you could even suggest your next set of goals for yourself. I would also recommend setting up a recurring meetings on the calendar for a recurring meeting cadence. So this means you want to make sure that you are in really good communication with the people that you need to be talking to on a regular basis. Now, it's probably the business owner, the person that you're working with, and maybe this is a weekly meeting or an every other week meeting, but getting those dates on the calendar from day one, make sure that that meeting is there and it shows up so that everybody knows that it's important. If it is appropriate, getting an email address from the client that you're working with could be hugely beneficial, because if in some way you are client facing or other freelancer facing with anyone else, then you're going to look more legitimate coming from an official email address within the company. So for example, if you're working with a client and you need to be in contact with their clients or their bookkeeper or their attorney or a prospective client, having an email address from the company makes everyone look more legitimate. So they're not getting some random email from some random company that they've never heard of, and it just makes your client look even better. And if you can remind them about that, then that shows your leadership and that you are going above and beyond to help the client look better. Another way to set yourself up for success is to simply create a bookmark in your Chrome browser for the client. This bookmark is going to hold all of the URLs that you need for the client. So their website, maybe their bookkeeper's website, any systems that they use, anything like that, where you're going back to these websites all the time for that specific client, would be really helpful if you would just create a bookmark in your Chrome so that everything is all there. My Chrome has all of my clients' folders across the top. And then when I go to the specific client, then I have a drop down of all of the URLs that I access for that client. And it makes my life so much easier that I'm not going through past emails or a document that I wrote it down or where's that sticky note. Everything is just there in my Chrome browser. Something else I want you to do, and this is something that maybe you haven't thought about, but I want you to maintain an accomplishment list for yourself. Now, let me preface that please make sure that your contract or your NDA allows for this, but anytime that you achieve something with a client, write it down for yourself. This will help you build your portfolio and build your street cred, for lack of a better word, that these are all of the things that you have done. I've worked with 6 clients and I've made 6 websites. These are the links to all of them. These are the pictures of what the website looked like in the past and what the website looks like now, right? Maintaining that accomplishment list, whether it's a list or it's photos, will greatly help you out as you build your future portfolio, but could also help you out if you want to write a blog post about a client success story that you have and use some before and after photos, which again is free advertisement for your client that goes above and beyond, but also shows the rest of the world how great you are and all of the good work that you do. Okay. The last part of an onboarding process is the training period. Now, this might not be something that you've ever thought of before because you're really excited just to get in and get started on the thing that you are actually hired for. But it's really important to establish a training period for yourself so that you have a full picture of the client's background, where they're going, what's already happening, and what they're thinking about in the future. This doesn't have to be like a set time, like I'm not doing any work until I do this whole training period. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that allow yourself a bit of time, potentially 30 days, to really get to know the business. That could be one of your 30-day goals. But to establish a training period that allows you some grace and flexibility to actually learn what the business is all about. When you come in, if you come into a company as a copywriter, you're not going to know what the company's vision is 5 years from now if you just get started on blog posts today. But asking those questions, taking 10 minutes out of your day to say, or 10 minutes out of your weekly meeting with your client to say, hey, I would love to hear about your company vision. Would you mind, if you're comfortable, would you mind sharing like your 5-year goals? Number one, people love to talk about themselves. And so I bet that your client would love to share that. But number two, you are going to be set up well so that you know where your job could potentially go and you can do your job even better. So in your training period, take some time to dig into the client's Google Drive. Click through all of the folders. If they don't want you to have access to folders, then they won't give you access to the folders, and that's totally fine. But if you have access to the folders, click around, see what they're doing, see what's going on. Did they have a list of ideas in some Google Doc somewhere from 3 years ago that they forgot about? Maybe you can uncover that and bring that back. And now you have this whole new list of ideas where the business could go moving forward. Properly set yourself up in your project management tool to make sure that you get all of the information in there. Yes, this is a little bit of like busy work in the background, but having it set up in this training period will greatly help you in the future. Taking the time to review large projects, upcoming deadlines, launches. If you know all of these dates and these ambitious dreams that your client has for the future, then you can do your job better today. So take the time to review what the projects are, all of the key players, all of the deliverables, even if they don't have anything to do with you. If you have a better, bigger, wholesome picture of what's going on, then again, you'll be able to do your job better. Take some time to read through the current standard operating procedures. Assess where standard operating procedures are needed. Is there an SOP that is not built out for the area that you work in that you could go above and beyond and build out for your client? That would show huge leadership and attention to your client that they might not even know that they need. So as you are poking around in their Google Drive, have a look for a folder that says something like SOPs or templates or training. Click around in there and see what's going on, because if there's already something written for your specific industry, like your specific little area where you're working, then use that to accelerate your training, but also use it as maybe it needs to be updated, and that could be one of your 30, 60, 90-day goals. I mentioned this a bit earlier with the upcoming projects and deadlines, but make sure that you know the key dates of any launches that are coming up. There needs to be a community, a business calendar of who's out of the office, when are important training dates coming up, when are important events coming up, and everyone, including you, including the freelancer, needs to know about those dates. So make sure that you have access to this calendar, that you're putting your information on the calendar, and that you know what's happening next. So again, add yourself to the larger calendar and make sure that any days that you're out of the office are already on there. If you have upcoming vacations, some medical stuff, family issues, anything, make sure all of that is on the calendar. Okay, so I want to talk about how you can apply this to your industry. I have given some specific examples that I'll go through in a second, but if anyone has any questions right now, feel free to come off mute and shout out at me since I can't see anything that's going on. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep going.
Hey, Amber, I had a question. I love the idea of the Google Calendar. Do you suggest having your client make one, or should we make one and add them to it?
I would suggest that your client has one for their business because they're going to know their business better, but you need access to it. And then you would add your information to their calendar.
Awesome. That's a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
When they, excuse me, whenever you're setting up your tools, like for me, whenever I've set up clients, I use ClickUp. And a lot of the, at first, when I was going to use it for my clients, a lot of them were like, I don't want to use it. I don't want to use it. And I'm like, which I get, they don't want to learn a whole new system. So when you're talking about in Asana, are you just setting up those tools or those tasks for yourself? Or are you also setting it up for the client? And if you are setting up for the client, how do you convince them to use your process?
Yes. So I set it up for myself just so that I make sure that I'm not missing anything. But if your client has a tool that they feel comfortable with, then I would go into their tool specifically so that they don't have to click around. I wouldn't want to put that burden on them that they have to go to a different platform or learn a different platform. So sometimes I'm in both. Sometimes I'm in my Asana and I'm in their ClickUp just because I want to make it easier for them. But I'm in my Asana because I don't want to forget anything. Like that's where I'm going to put my to-dos or my brainstorming or my brain dump is going to be in mine. Because I don't want, right, if something happens and they're like, I don't want to pay for ClickUp anymore and they get rid of it, I don't want all my notes to be gone. So I keep all my stuff in my Asana and then I go into their product as needed. If they are feeling resistant that they don't want to use a platform that you feel like would be really important, I would still use it on your end, again, so you don't forget anything. And then maybe just like pepper in how great it is and how productive you are. And look at all of this great work that I'm doing. And I'm doing all of that because I'm in ClickUp and it's working out so well for me. So I don't know that I would totally disrupt their process. But I would just make sure that I'm taken care of on my end.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Amber. I'm
Yep.
sorry. I would like to add to that. We use a client's intranet to communicate data and proofs. But the caveat to not copying it to ours or having that track is when they updated a template, that it updates on their end. And so it doesn't show that the template that they gave to us was the incorrect one.
Oh.
Well, we thought this is great to reduce friction to use their platform.
Yeah.
But to your previous conversation, if you're not keeping it within your own platform, database, archives, you won't have that reference and they'll just say, well, you pulled the wrong information unless you can document.
Sure. So if that's the situation and you really need to be in their platform, then be in their platform. But if there's a way that you can own some of it, then I would try to do that. But if they're completely resistant to that, or it's some industry that has legal requirements, right?
Amber freeze.
Maybe the industry that you're talking about has legal requirements. I don't know that you can really get around things like that, and that's okay. Just do the best that you can and try to keep as much of an accomplishment list or a portfolio as you go.
Amber, this is kind of down in the weeds, but have you found that Asana integrates well with CRM? Like I'm using HubSpot. I mean, does Asana integrate with other software? I mean, very well.
I know Asana does integrate with HubSpot. I personally don't use HubSpot as my CRM, so I don't know what that looks like from the user perspective, but I know that there is an integration there. And I'm an Asana certified pro. So if you want me to like ask whenever I do a ticket in Asana, it gets pushed to the top. So if you want me to send a ticket in to Asana to ask a specific question, then shoot me an email after this and I can do that for you.
Yeah, yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yep.
I had a quick question.
Yes.
So I feel like a lot of the content is really good. Like I said, it's giving me a lot of ideas, but it feels kind of like it's geared to longer term projects or like retainer projects. So if you're like doing a shorter term project, like typically a lot of mine are 4 to 6 weeks or maybe even like less, like how would you prioritize and what do you think is the most important, especially for something where you're not going to have like as many meetings or as many touch points with the client?
Yeah. So what do you mean? How do I prioritize? Like, how do I set goals, or what does that mean?
As far as all these like internal processes, like some stuff doesn't seem like it's necessarily relevant
Okay.
Just because like you said, if you're only, I'm only have maybe 1 or 2 meetings with the business owner.
Yep.
So,
and then you're done and you're out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For like
So-
like I said, like a one-off project.
Yeah. So for something like that, definitely make sure that the internal process is still there, like collecting all of their information, the contract, the invoice, if there's an NDA, right? All of that, make sure all of that is collected. A personal touch, because it's such a short-term thing, I would probably just do a handwritten note or a shout out on social and be done. You might not need to do any sort of meeting cadence or anything like that, especially if you're just like, I'm just writing copy in your Google Doc and then I'm out. But you want to make sure that you have access to the folder, the platform. If you need to put something in WordPress, you have those passwords. So there are a few systems that you will need access to. I would just start collecting a list on your end. And what's in your if it's in your contract that you're going to write the post in Google Doc and then bounce, then that's all you need access to. But if you're writing the post and then getting it approved and then putting it in WordPress and doing all the things, then just make sure that you have access to all of the things from day one, so that when you're ready to actually post something, you're not like, oh, great, this is supposed to go live 12 minutes ago and I don't even have the WordPress login and they're at lunch, So there's still ways that you can make sure that you're setting yourself up for success from the beginning in that way. I would still make sure that you set goals, and maybe for a short-term project that's just written out in your contract, right? I'm writing 4 blog posts in the next 4 weeks and then we're done and I'm out. But at the end of that project, I would do like a quick email summary, like, hey, loved working with you. Just wanted to give you a quick reminder that we met our goals. So excited that that everything went so smoothly. Let me know if you want to work together again in the future, to like really round that out well, and then be done with them and bring your new client in.
Awesome. Okay. Yes, that's super helpful. Thanks.
Okay, sure. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna keep chugging along. How are we doing on time? Great. Okay, so I have a couple of examples of how to apply this to your industry. If I don't list out your industry, I'm very sorry, but have a look at these examples and think about if you can apply it to your onboarding process to just go a little above and beyond. So if you're a photographer, part of your onboarding process might be reminder emails. There might be reminder emails that need to come up about your next shoot, because you want to remind the client about things like the weather and props and outfit changes and location details and parking, and creating some sort of reminder email that says, hey, Max, so excited about our headshot shoot that's coming up tomorrow. I know we're going to be outside at the Nelson, but it's going to rain. Don't worry. I've already arranged with the Nelson that we're going to go inside and I'm going to take your headshot by a Monet, or whatever you say, right? But sending that quick reminder email about what's going on would really, really help a photographer's client to make them feel like they are completely taken care of and that everything is going to go smoothly. Another thing that a photographer could do is post a questionnaire that's not just what kind of photographs do you need, but things like, where are these photos going to be used? What are your branding details? What are the colors of your business? What is the tone and the voice of your business? Are you kind of sassy like Julie? Or are you like a photographer or a lawyer who needs to be like in front of a bookshelf with his hand like this, right? Like that needs to be known to the photographer in the beginning so that they can create their shoot list. And it is on the photographer to learn all of those things from day one. So let's talk about if you are a web designer. A web designer might need things like company branding, their hex codes, their logos, headshots that were taken in the past. They might want to have an introduction to the photographer to say, hey, loved the headshot that you took. It's not the right size that I need. Can you send it over to me? I'm sure any photographer would love to do that so that their photos are featured on a website, but the web designer needs to have that contact information from the beginning. A website designer might send out a questionnaire asking about examples that the client likes. What colors do they like? What colors do they hate? Did they already have an opt-in that they're using? Is there a customer journey that the web designer should know about from the very beginning so that they can build the website out in a way that makes sense? So what if you are a launch copywriter? Like Max was saying, this is going to be a more short-term project for the copywriter because they're doing a specific launch. So it's not like we're working together for years and years and years. We're working together for potentially 6 weeks to get the copy done for this specific project. Maybe your initial session is going to be 90 minutes instead of the standard 60 minutes because there's so much to go into with the detail of the launch. A launch copywriter will also need to see examples of past content so they truly understand their client's voice and what the project is that they're launching so that everything is on brand and cohesive. A launch copywriter is also going to need important dates like when does the launch begin? When is open cart? When is close cart? Is there like one of those free training sessions over 3 days and then they announce it? The launch copywriter needs to have all of those dates and information up front so that they can do their job. So for this example with a launch copywriter, they're going to be completely finished with their job with the copy for the launch before the launch even begins, probably 2 weeks before the launch even begins. So having those important dates from the very beginning is going to help the copywriter know what they're doing so that they can be successful. For an event planner, they also need to know the timeline of important events, but they need to know specific times. Yes, they need to know the date of the event, but they need to know times. What time is everything happening during the day so that they can be anticipating what's happening next and make sure that everything goes really smoothly along the way. An event planner also needs a list of key players like the MC and the venue contact and caterers and the florist and whoever else is coming to the event. Excuse me. The event planner needs to know who all of these people are, who they are, who are they, what is their role, what is their phone number, who's their backup if something happens. The event planner needs all of this information before the day of the event. And an event planner needs to have a contingency plan. Just like I mentioned with the photographer, they probably need to have a contingency plan if they're an outdoor photographer, but an event planner should too. What if there's tech issues at this presentation? What if there are weather issues that changes the location? An event planner needs to have all of that ready to go in the beginning so that they can plan for a successful event along the way. So thank you so much for coming to my presentation today. I will open this up for questions, but I just want to leave my contact info here for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can see your pretty faces. And oh, I guess I lost my thing. So I'll put it all in the contact information, but who has questions for me? Feel free to come off mute and just shout out at me.
My question, Amber.
Hi, Holly.
And does HoneyBook track time for you, or does Asana?
Asana has an integration with Harvest.
Okay.
That you can use to track time.
Perfect. Okay.
Excuse me, would you be willing to share a PDF of your presentation so that
Of course.
some of the information that we didn't get to write down?
Yep, of course.
Yes. Awesome, thank you.
I have a question. You mentioned way at the beginning, like under personal touches, like possibly sending gifts to your new client. And I come from a long corporate background, and I know there are legal requirements for, the dollar amount that can be given as gifts. And you just made me think, I don't know if there's any proxy for that in the independent world or not. I mean, is there any reason to be aware of that legally?
I would like you to know that if you can give me a gift at any dollar amount.
Okay.
But aside from that, like, so for example, if you had a lawyer who was a client, are you saying like, is there any legal requirement in that specific industry, or like yeah, like something that's regulated. I don't know.
Okay.
I actually used to work in the government. I worked at Homeland Security for a long time. And I think, because like heads of state from other places would come in and give gifts. And I'm not joking, the legal requirement was $10. You couldn't give anything over $10.
And I think it's up to the receiver, isn't it? The receiver of the gift to.
Yeah, I'm sure if they
report
had a
it.
legal thing, they would have to say, I'm sorry, I can't. Or they would have to donate it themselves, right? If they received it in the mail, they would have to donate. But yeah, I'm not sure about that. I don't work in a regulated industry.
Especially for
way.
politicians, like I have a couple
Right.
of politicians who are clients that I do graphic design for, so they can't accept gifts. And if they can, then I think they have to report them, or, a big example is like the president. The president can't,
Yep.
I don't work for the president, by the way.
Yep.
He can't take gifts. And so what that just becomes, it just becomes part of the, it gets logged as now it belongs to the United States. So.
Exactly. Yep. So whenever I worked at Homeland Security, there was a big, those like trophy cases in your high school. There were like trophy cases like that all over at Homeland Security headquarters with like all of these gifts from heads of state, because they couldn't belong to the specific secretary of the cabinet agency. They like belonged to the agency as a whole. So, but I personally can't accept gifts. I love gifts, and I can give you my address if you would like.
I declare all my gifts to my wife.
Who else has questions? Yes.
How do you feel your way, or when do you feel your way around the ask process for access to client systems? And how do you handle that? And how do you, if someone is not willing to share, how do you kind of handle that? I mean, I know I've been involved with some things where I've gotten involved and they just kind of say, hey, we're just going to add you to our Asana or our Trello or whatever.
So I always ask in the beginning. I usually do like a long email after the discovery call. I kind of know what systems they have, right? I know I'm going to need access to your Google Drive and to your Asana or your Trello or your ClickUp, but I don't need access to your QuickBooks, right? So like I don't care. I don't want to know about your QuickBooks, so I stay out of that. But I just tell them from the beginning I'm going to need access. And if they don't feel comfortable giving me access to the whole thing, then I would ask for specific access to the thing. Okay, you don't want to give me access to your whole Google Drive? Totally understandable. Can I have access to the marketing folder? Or you don't want to give me access to your whole Asana? Will you add me as a guest to this one project so I can create a board? Or will you create something for me and then give me access to that? That's how I would do it. I haven't really, most people that I work with, they're just like, here's my business, please make it better. So I don't know that they like super care. But if you worked with someone who was a little more sensitive to that, then I would just make sure that you're asking for the specific thing that you really need, or tell them like, okay, that's fine if you don't want to give me access to your thing. Just know there's going to be 3 or 4 more steps in the middle to get this accomplished. If you're okay with that, I'm okay with that.
And here's a softball for you. Do you do any, for lack of a better term, tutoring or overviews of Asana or Trello for folks like us whose clients are asking us to participate in those, and maybe we don't want to say, not so experienced in that?
Do you mean like an Asana training or an audit of what you currently do?
No, like if I came to you and said, hey, Amber, I've got this client and they want me to be on Trello or Asana, and I'm not that experienced with it.
Yeah.
And I know you are. Would I set up an hour with you to kind of walk through these systems and landmines and things like that?
Yes. So I am an Asana certified pro. I am not certified in ClickUp or Trello. So if you wanted those platforms, then I can refer you to some friends who I know those platforms better. But yes, I can help you with Asana.
Very good. Thank you.
I have something to say about that. So I have various clients. A couple use Basecamp, a couple use Smartsheets, and one uses ClickUp. And I just worked out the deal that like I'm not the one that like finishes out the assignment, because I don't want to mess up their internal stuff. Like Smartsheet, I'm just in there viewing stuff. I don't have like I haven't bought Smartsheet or anything like that. They have just added me so that I can see stuff. So you don't necessarily have to buy all of these things. I just work it out with my client that they mark it finished when it's done, just to leave it on their end and that I don't mess up anything on their internal stuff.
Perfect.
There's a lot of them, and yeah.
Awesome. I'm just going through the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything, but if you have any other questions, just shout them out.
So is there one industry more important, not more important, but I guess your process is affected for one industry more so than any other industry?
No, I think it's important in all the areas.
Okay.
All right.
Amber, when you talked about a Loom video or handwritten, I mean, you do either or. I mean, I don't suppose you do a Loom video and a handwritten note.
No, I am a stationery collector. So I would do a handwritten note and probably a shout out on social. If they are a like super big client, then I would use a company to curate a box for me to send out. Just because I'm not that talented to put stuff like that together.
So a handwritten note, you'll just send it like a thank you note for choosing me as a client, and
but like
as a contractor.
So excited to work for you. You know, yeah, people love that. Kelly, did you have your hand raised?
I do.
Where are you?
So
there you are. Okay.
Great presentation, Amber.
Thank you.
You blew this out of the water, in my opinion. To kind of speak on a couple of your points, you mentioned kind of keeping track of the clients, like when you first get them, create a bookmark, read through their website, take the first 30 days to really learn about them. Really good advice. I didn't think about the bookmarks, but I think you might use a Mac while I am on a PC.
That's okay, Kelly. We still love you.
Thank you. I'm in therapy for it.
You and Aaron can make a club.
Setting up like a Google alert is also a good idea as well. But I like the idea of setting up the bookmarks of all that. I use like a Word document like on the Google Drive, but it's not very professional. I don't know, but I like the idea of the bookmark. So that's a good one.
So whatever internet browser you use, you can set up a bookmark. So like I use Chrome, Google Chrome as my browser, even though I'm on a Mac. So if you use Google Chrome, you can set up a bookmark there too. But if you use Firefox or whatever else you use.
I use Chrome, but it won't let me set up, like I can't create, and maybe this is a user error, but like I can't say client X and here's all the websites that I want associated with them.
So if you right click on your bookmark area in Chrome, then there's a spot to add a folder, and then you can rename the folder. And then when you save, when you click the button that says like bookmark this tab, then you can choose which folder it goes to.
Nice.
Did that work?
Yeah, I'm actually trying it.
Okay, good.
Yes, totally.
Yeah,
that worked.
Good. Yeah,
Okay.
so I have one for like my business, right? Like my ConvertKit and my CRM and my Google Sheet that I access all the time. So, right, I have one for my business, and then I have one like personal, right? Like all my bills and all of that. And then I have one for all of my clients so that they're organized in that way.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for the tips.
Yeah, of course.
Amber, I just wanted to say, so I've been in my business, this is my 5th year, and I badly needed an Amber. And so Amber actually helped me with onboarding for my clients. And then I also bring on contractors. And so like onboarding with that too. And then I feel like what she's taught me has actually helped me in like keeping my life organized too. But I do feel like it's really important to have that good customer experience. And I can speak from being her customer that like that is the experience that you get. And it's kind of what I'm striving to achieve as well. And it's amazing what you notice now that you do that like with everybody else. It's a really eye-opening thing to be able to have a good onboarding process.
Yep. Thank you so much for saying that. I appreciate you, friend.
Amber, I have a quick question.
Yes.
This is kind of off topic, but sort of similar or just still on topic. You're talking about onboarding. What do you usually do when you're doing for offboarding as far as that they're sharing all that information with you as far as passwords and all the other stuff, whether, it's like for some of my clients, I really encourage them to use LastPass because I don't want to know any of their stuff. But I know LastPass can be kind of quirky, and then you're like having to go back and forth. But then other people are like, yeah, here's my password. Here's my, they give you everything, which is great. But then at the same time, you're like, okay, after a certain amount of time, you don't want to have that information, or even with their files being on your Google Drive, obviously it takes up space. So, what do you usually do with that as far as notifying them how long they're going to keep their files on your Google Drive and all that stuff, and how you usually do the offboarding process?
Yeah. So offboarding, I always say that like onboarding giveth and offboarding taketh away. So offboarding is basically undoing all of the things that you did. So everything that you did in the beginning, right? Adding them to your CRM, adding them to your task management system, adding them to all of these things, getting access, then you need to undo all of that, right? Like archive it all, or, move your Google Chrome folder, do an archived folder, whatever it is. So undo everything that you did in the beginning. But then I think to answer your more specific question about client specific is I always say things like, it's the end of April, our contract has come to an end. I loved working with you. On Monday, May 2nd, I am deleting all of your passwords and clearing my cookies. I'm doing my part to not have access to your data anymore. Please take the time to remove me from your Google Drive or your QuickBooks or your whatever, because they have to do that on their end. But if you can give them a reminder email of like, these are the 4 systems that I have access to, please remove me. I think that makes you look really professional, but also that like you're trying to take care of them in a different way, right? Not everyone, go through your Google Drive and who has access to things and get those people out of there. So just sending them a quick email to remind them, I would only do that one time, and that's on them to remove you from things. If you have documents, like if you're a web designer, graphic designer, logo, whatever, and it costs you money to store those things every month, then I would probably say something like, I'm going to have this thing stored for 30 days. After that, I'm deleting it off of my site. Please take the time to download this on, in 30 days from now, I'm deleting it and I won't send you another email to remind you like that. That's on you.
I love that. Thank you.
Yep. We got to empower the people to do their job too, right?
Do you feel like that process, like offboarding process, would dissuade somebody from wanting to work with you again because they're going to have to start from square one? Just to getting all rid of all of that, I just feel like that's the good thing about having a repeat clients, right? That you did a good enough job, they want to work with you again. And then like, you're kind of starting not at square one, you're kind of already familiar, you have what you need. Now we're working on a different project. So like a kind of like a speed run of some of that onboarding. So that's the only thing that would worry me about an offboarding process.
I would hope that the client would see that you're trying to do the right thing and trying to be professional and honest and secure, is my hope, that that's how it would come across. I'm not trying to keep your passwords after we no longer work together. If we work together in the future, I'm going to ask for those back. And hopefully they see that as a positive, that I'm trying to be proactive about that. If you feel like, like Max is a copywriter, if you're like, hey, we did these these 6 blog posts, whatever we did, we updated your website. I'd love to work together again in 6 months to refresh your content. I just want to be proactive and make you feel secure that I'm not holding on to your things, your access that you don't need to be a part of. But if you think we're working together in the future, I'm happy to keep that, as long as you trust me or whatever. Say that better with your copywritingness, but like that's, I think, what I would do. But hopefully it's going to come across as that you're trying to do the right thing and be honest.
Okay, that's a great point. Thanks.
Yeah.
I have one client who basically who I don't really work with anymore, but I continue to get their Basecamp updates. And these people, I mean, they keep everything on there, like their personal stuff. So I'll see like, pay Grandpa Joe for, bouquet, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
oh shit.
that's annoying.
I mean,
yeah.
I get these constant, and I haven't really gotten back to them, but I mean, some people are just so, I guess, stupid really for not thinking about what they have on what they share.
Right. So again, I would do, when you're finished with that client, I would remind them, like, it's on you to remove me from your Basecamp. But I don't know, if it were me and I were getting those emails, I'd be annoyed and I would send them another reminder. Or I would make a filter in your mail to like move that out of your inbox.
Yeah. Sometimes I just check and see what they want, what they're picking up at the grocery store, just to see.
Yeah. What does Grandpa Joe eat for dinner? I want to be super respectful of everyone's time. I know we're at the end. I put my contact information, my URL, and my email, hello@youneedinamber.com. So if you think of more questions, feel free to send me an email.